Hey Scotty, I think we finally have some time to unbox the Lost Caverns of Ixalan stuff. Are you with me? Alright, cool. Let's get to it. Hello everyone and welcome to another one of our Lazy Swim deck reviews. The series where Scotty and I take the time to go through the Precon decks, read out the cards inside, give you an idea of how strong they are and if they synergize with the given commander, the cuts of the deck, and how good the product is straight out of the box. At the end, we score each deck inside of an expansion against each other out of 10. So grab your favorite drink, sit down, lay back and relax as we dive into this review. And today we're taking a look at yet another one of the commander decks, Blood Rites, and we're gonna be reviewing it for the Lost Caverns of Ixalan. This is the third deck in our series that we're doing. And we've reviewed everything else, and that's been sealed and open for you guys. I know we're late, so without further ado, thank you very much, Scotty, for that intro. And let's have a look at Blood Rites, the Orzhov Vampire Spawner Sacrifice to Flying Demons deck. So this is the new trend of this deck. It includes the 10 new cards. Of course, it's a 100-card deck. It includes 10 new cards, a deck box, the 10 double-sided token cards, the foil-edge display commander, the life wheel, the strategy insert, the reference card, and of course, the sample collector booster with 2 cards inside. And that's it. This deck was printed in Belgium, and without further ado, let's crack inside. As we said before, we're very excited for these decks. I know they're very, very strong straight out of the box, and the past 2 ones are incredibly good compared to all the other precons that we've reviewed this past year. So I'm pleasantly surprised, and hopefully they'll keep up the trend, because honestly, some of these are even better made than the $70 precon decks that they created for the Commander Masters. Here you have a little bit of cardboard with some cutouts. You have the little bit of strategy insert, the deck with the tokens, and in here you'll find the life wheel, the deck box, and the sample booster. Of course, the deck box as such will not be able to hold the cards with sleeves, so it's only just a container if you're just storing the deck as is, but don't believe without sleeves, please. There's the life wheel, and here's the strategy insert, which I always find nice. It gives you a little bit of fluff and ideas about the deck that you're about to play and the commander. So here we have Blood Rites, the Orzhov deck, and if you need to pause and read, please go ahead. Hopefully the light is not too refracting. And here we have our commander, who looks so happy. That's me on Christmas morning. And this is Clavileño, the first of the blast. So this is gonna be really, really cool. And that's it. If you want to pause and read, please do so. And without further ado, let's dive into the collector booster sample. As we said, you get a token and 2 proper cards. The first one is going to be a rare or mythic. The second one is going to be an uncommon. They're all going to be with special borders that found in this expansion. So the first one, this is a bit pringled, but it's okay. The first one is Sahili, the Sun's Brilliance, which we've not seen as a mythic, and this is the showcase version. That's very, very cool. It's a 2/2 human artificer that costs Is It, and for Is It and tap, you create a token that's a copy of an target creature or artifact you control, except that it's an artifact in addition to its other types, against haste, sacrifice at the beginning of the next end step. Very, very good card, very cool, and I'm happy to have seen that. We hadn't seen that in our unboxings at all. And then we have Ninkanso, Current Conductor, very, very good card for the Merfolk deck that we've just reviewed. So very, very nice. Okay, so let's have a look at the commander deck. And if I find the pull tab, as usual, the hardest part of this is find the pull tab. Got it, Chief, got it. Okay, as usual, we'll have a first look at the tokens and at the thick commander. And then from there, we will have a look at the commander proper, the general, and then the rest of the deck. So let's have a look. We have the thick commander, Clavileño, first of the blast, of course, and here it is. Now we have the vampire token, vampire with lifelink, and then vampire with lifelink with just a different, I really love this illustration. Bat with, oh my god, it almost looks like it had a little sweater. I love the little flying bat. Then we have a blood token. Oh, Saurian, Lord of Innistrad is here. Okay, then a city's blessing, and then vampire with lifelink, a lot of them, and then vampire demon, because yep, you'll be creating second to create more demons from your vampires. And let's have a look at our commander and at the general. And of course, you also get this little insert to remember how to play Magic the Gathering in case you don't know, or in case you just started and you need a reminder. Anyway, Clavileño, first of the blessed, is 2/2 vampire cleric that costs 3. Whenever you attack, target attacking vampire that isn't a demon becomes a demon in addition to its other types, and it gains whenever this creature dies. Draw a card and create a tapped 4/3 white and black vampire demon creature token with flying. Effectively, it's just giving the demons thing on top of it, and with the ability that if it dies at any one point, it transforms itself. It's fairly straightforward and fairly good, I think. Then Carmen, and funny enough, we've seen both of them in our unboxing. Carmen Cruel Sky Marcher is a 2/2 vampire soldier. It costs 5 flying. This is the general. Whenever a player sacrifices a permanent, which I think would be also part of the theme of the deck, because Hordes of Vampires, you know, are aristocrats, that's what they love doing. Put a +1/+1 counter on Carmen and gain life. And this is for any player. And it can be for any permanent. So if anybody sacks treasure tokens, artifacts, stuff like that, that goes towards making this much bigger. And whenever Carmen attacks, return up to 1 target permanent card with mana value less than or equal to Carmen's power from graveyard to the battlefield, therefore synergizing really well together. I really like this. Okay, so that's interesting. Let's see what the deck has in store for us. Okay, first off, we have Charismatic Conqueror, which we've seen before. It's a 2/2 vampire soldier that costs 2. It's white vigilance. Whenever an artifact or creature enters the battlefield untapped and under an opponent's control, they may tap the permanent, but if they don't, you create a 1/1 white vampire creature token with lifelink. So that's really good. Either they come in tapped, which it's okay at the beginning, but it's very annoying for certain cards after a while, and also on top of that, they don't have a defensive line. They cast a lot of creatures in one turn, so that's decent. Then we have Elenda's Hierophant. It's a 1/1 vampire cleric that costs 3. It's white, has flying. When you gain life, you put a +1/+1 counter on Elenda's Hierophant. Very good in this kind of deck. And when it dies, you create X 1/1 white vampire creature tokens where X is its power. Very good. March of the Canonized. This is an X and 2 white pips enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, you get to create X white vampire creature tokens that are 1/1 with lifelink. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, if your devotion to white or black is 7 or greater, you create, well, the demon tokens with flying. That's really good. I like this. You can just play for 1 and then eventually it will pay off at the beginning of your upkeep, or later in the game it pays off right away. Very good tribal. Next up, we have Redemption Choir. Why is this one? I don't know why there's a cut there. Anyway, Redemption Choir has a 3/3 vampire cleric that costs 4, 2 whites, and it's white, and it has lifelink and coven. Whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, return target permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Effectively, the engine continues. Very good. I like it. It's not too expensive. Thus, Legion Sergeant is a 2/2 vampire soldier with menace that costs 2 and it's black for 2 with 1 black and 1 generic. You sack it, and each non-token vampire creature you control is persistent until the end of turn, which means that when it dies, it comes back with a -1/-1 counter unless it had a -1/-1 counter, making it really annoying. And you can re-enable Clavileño. Very good. Oh, Master of Dark Rites. I love this card. This is a 1/1 vampire cleric that costs only 1. Tap, sack another creature. So that's a sack outlet. You have 1, and then add 3 black mana, like a Black Lotus. Spend this mana only to cast vampire, cleric, or demon spells, but then again, that's the name of the game here. Very strong card. I cannot stress that enough in this deck. Promise of Aklozots. It's an enchantment that costs 2, it's black, and it also has an adventure. On the enchantment side, at the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice a non-demon creature. So again, ability to create more and more sack outlets, and if you do, you populate creating a token copy, so you can sack a lower creature like a small 1/1 to make a big demon creature. And then for Far Rebirth on the adventure side, it costs only 3, it's black and it's a sorcery. Sacrifice a demon creature, and if you do, you create a demon for 3 flyer. Very good, very nasty. Order of Sacred Dusk is next. It's a 5/5 vampire knight that costs 8. And it has Orzhov in its cost, and it has Convoke. Your creatures can help cast a spell, making it significantly less costly because you have a lot of token generation so far. And then for flying and lifelink and haste, and it also has Exalted, which means whenever a creature you control attacks alone, he gets a +1/+1 until the end of turn. Now the vampires you control have Exalted. Yeah, the Exalted part is okay. You really don't want to have only one vampire attacking or creature attacking, but of course with everybody being exalted, then it means that if you have like 10 vampires and only one thing flies in the air and attacks, then it gets +10/+10. So that's very, very, very good. So yeah, it's a very good card. Of course, you need to have Convoke ways to put it in because hard casting it is going to be a bit annoying. Austere Command, a great way to remove and clear the board. I wish Farewell was here, maybe it might be, but either way, great little card. As a wipe, you choose 2, and it costs 6. Destroy all artifacts, all enchantments, all creatures with mana value 3 or less, or 4 or greater. And yep, very, 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 very good removal that I like to use. Then we get Kindred Boon as an enchantment. Costs 4 with 2 white pips. As it enters the battlefield, you choose a creature type, I guess vampire. With 2, you put a divinity counter on target creature you control of the chosen type. So let's say Clavileño. Each creature you control with divinity counter has indestructible. Very good. Thank you. And it's not that expensive. Malvern Fane Dusk Apostle is a 2/2 vampire cleric that costs 3. And it's white. Whenever one or more non-token vampire creatures you control attack, you create a 1/1 white vampire creature token with lifelink. Again, more token generation. Why not? And there isn't a lot of anthem effects so far, I will say, that I've seen. And there's a lot of second effect. There's some put a little +1/+1, but there's not everybody gets +1/+1. No, it's not like you get a +1, you get a +1, you get a +1. It's more, okay, one creature gets +1/+1. So I hope that there is some ways to buff because that's what you're looking at. You have a lot of weenies that eventually either you sack them and you transform into bigger things, or you want to just swing to the face and power up. Either way, it's a good way because even if we swing to the face, they die, they transform. So yeah, that's good. Radiant Destiny is an enchantment that costs 3 and it's white, has Ascent, so blessings. And as Radiant Destiny enters the battlefield, choose a creature type, and creatures of the chosen type get an anthem. And as long as the city's blessing, they also have Vigilance. Interesting one, very easy to obtain this kind of anthem kind of thing, the Ascend with something like this kind of deck because you create so many weenies. So something that I would definitely keep. If there's better anthems that you have, there are standard banners and stuff like that, then I would remove this and replace it with that. Welcoming Vampires, a 2/3 vampire, costs 3, it's white, flying. Whenever one or more other creatures with power 2 or less enter the battlefield under your control, so tokens, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. That's annoying. I wish it wasn't only once because then it would be really, really good. This is a draw 1, and at the moment this is what we're lacking, is draw more to get through the deck. Cool. Bloodcast, hello. Nice to see you. This is a great card that was really strong in Modern. As a 2/1 Vampire Spirit that costs 2 black, cannot block, and has haste so long as an opponent has 10 or less life. And then with Landfall, you basically put it under your control back from the graveyard into the battlefield. This is very, 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 very strong because of sack outlets and Clavileño. That's yay. Yes, Aristocrats really likes Bloodcast very much. So yeah, just keep in mind that you have it in the how do you call it, in the graveyard, because sometimes I forget when I'm with Yamot and I forget that I have it and I'm like, oh crap, I forgot to put it back. Anyway, Blood Tracker is a 2/2 vampire wizard that costs 4 and has flying and it's black. For 1 black, you pay 2 life, you put a +1/+1 counter on him. Okay, and then when it leaves the battlefield, you draw a card for each +1/+1 counter on it. Yeah, that's a good, decent way to draw, I guess. It's a bit expensive in the long run, but you can definitely make it bigger fairly quickly because it doesn't have to tap itself. Then we have Butcher of Malkir, another vampire warrior that costs 7, and it's a 5/4 with flying. When it or another creature you control dies, each opponent sacrifices a creature. Love that, love that, love that. Now, of course, there are enchantment effects that allow you to do this for a bit cheaper, but this is on a vampire, so that's not bad actually. Okay, of course it's expensive, so you don't have a lot of ramp to it. Anyway, Champion of Dusk is a 4/4 vampire knight. It costs 5. When it enters the battlefield, you draw X cards and you lose X life, where X is the number of vampires you control. That's what I was looking for and talking about. Love ya. Cordial Vampire. Look how cordial he is. Come on in. Let's have you for dinner. And it's a 1/1 vampire that costs 2 black. When it or another creature dies, you put a +1/+1 counter on each vampire you control. That's the other vampire I was talking about. Very, very nice. Crossway Troublemakers is a 5/5 vampire, costs 6, is black. Attacking vampires you control have Death Touch and Lifelink. Yes, very, very, very nice. Of course, it's only attacking once, but what do we care about? We just slam him in, get as much life as possible, kill as many things as possible. Whatever dies comes back as a demon. Great. Whenever a vampire you control dies, you may pay 2 life. If you do, draw a card. Another way to draw life, to draw cards. Very, very good. Draw outlets are great. Hey, nice. Damn. Destroy target creature. Creature destroyed this way cannot be regenerated, and you can overload it to kill everything. I love this card. This is so cool. Not a great board wipe. Of course, with so many board wipes, I would hope that I have ways to protect my side with tribal. White has quite a few of those, so I'm hoping that some of those have made through. Anywho, Drana, Liberator of Malkir is a 2/3 vampire ally, and it costs 3 with 2 black pips. Flying First Striker. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you put a +1/+1 counter on each attacking creature you control. Very nice. Exquisite Blood. Now this is nice. Like this, oh my god. You can even combo into this one. Exquisite Blood is back. It's an enchantment that is a classic in Commander. It costs 5 with 1 black. And whenever your opponent loses life, you gain that much life. And of course, with flying, that's great. With more lifelink, that's even better. And also there's a combo with the other enchantment, which I always forget the name because I'm bad with names, that whenever you gain life, they lose life, and whenever they lose life, you gain life, and that's a combo right there. Anyway, that's a great enchantment. Glasscast Heart is an artifact that costs 3 as black. Whenever one or more vampires you control attack, you get to create a blue token, which is really, really good. Which, you remember, in case you don't, you sack it to draw a card. And then for 1 black tap, pay a life, you create a 1/1 white-black vampire with lifelink, so token generation. And then with 2, and then you sacrifice and 13 blood tokens, okay? Each opponent loses 13 life and you gain 13 life. The second ability, I don't know how often you can do it. It takes, realistically, unless you have proliferate, 13 turns to do that. And unless you're playing a very slow pod, you're not going to be able to get to that. So as the first one, this one, it's actually really good. These two are pretty good. This, I don't know, it's very, very situational. I don't think you get to use it as much, but hey, it's not bad. You can replace it if you have much better stuff. New Blood Sorcery costs 4 with 2 black pips. As an additional cost to cast a spell, tap and untap vampire you control. There are plenty. You gain control of target creature, changes the text of that creature by replacing all instances of one creature type with vampire. Hey, that's bribery, but it makes it a vampire. Well, it's not too freaking like. Nighthawk Scavenger, a great card. Vampire Rogue that costs 3 with 2 black pips inside. That's 1+ stars, his power and toughness 3. Flying Death Touch lifelink, and its power is equal to 1+ the number of cards types amongst cards in your opponent's graveyard. Freaking amazing in this deck. Olivia's Wrath, great card for 5. It's black. Each non-vampire creature gets -X until the end of turn, where X is the number of vampires you control. Very, very good board wipe for vampires. It's extremely good. Pact of the Serpent. Sorcery costs 3. Choose a creature type. Target player draws X cards and loses X life, or X is the number of creatures they control of the chosen type. Well, this is for you. Just make sure you don't burn yourself out too quickly. Patron of the Vein. A 4/4 vampire shaman that costs 6. Has flying. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target creature an opponent controls. Okay. And then whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, exile it and put a +1/+1 counter on each vampire you control. Very, very strong. proliferates those counters very quickly, and it even has an enabler. We don't have at the moment any spot removals, but there are so many in black and even white some that you can just destroy stuff and enable this. Of course, you'd have to, if you keep this in, I will keep it in only if you have ways to destroy. Otherwise, it's too expensive. Sentence Seeker is a 3/4 vampire knight that costs 4 with 2 black pips, and whenever a vampire you control attacks, each opponent loses a life and you gain 1 life. And that's really good because you attack with more than 1 vampire. Yay. Okay, next we have Timothy, Baron of Bats. I love his freaking look. He's awesome. It's a 4/4 vampire noble that costs 6, has ward, discard a card, and whenever a non-token vampire you control dies, you may pay 1 generic and exile it. If you do, create a 1/1 black bat creature token with flying. Okay, so it still enables this because you transform it into that, but this still triggers. Just checking. And against when this creature deals common damage to a player, sacrifices and return the exile card to the battlefield tabbed. Okay, very, very good. Very, very good. Ooh, Twilight Prophet, another great one. 2/4 Vampire Cleric that costs 4, flying, ascend, City's Blessing. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you have the blessing, reveal the top card of your library, put it into your hand. Each player loses X life, you gain X life, where X the card's mana value. Again, very easy to get the City's Blessing in this kind of deck. Yahini, Undying Partisan, Etherborn Vampire 2/2 that costs 3, is black, has haste, and whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, you put a +1/+1 counters on him and sack another creature, and it gains indestructible until the end of turn. I would use this more as a sack outlet. It's not bad. It's great for this one as well. I don't know. It really depends on how you want to build a deck. This is something you could remove if you have better ways to put +1/+1 counters or to buff up your whole entire thing, or if you have better ways to have sack outlets. So, for example, the altars, for example. Anyway, Alenda, the Dusk Crows, is a 1/1 vampire knight that costs 4 with Orzhov. Has lifelink. Whenever another creature dies, you put a +1/+1 counter on Alenda Dusk Crows. So I like this one more because this triggers on every other creature, not just your opponents. And when it dies, you create more tokens with lifelink, where X is the power. Very, very good. Between the two, I use her if I have to choose. Ooh, Sorin, Lord of Innistrad is here. Is a 3 loyalty planeswalker, and it costs 4 with Orzhov of a cost. +1, you create a 1/1 black vampire creature token with lifelink. What's not to like there? -2, you get an emblem with creatures you control get +1/+0. Very easy to do. And destroy up to 3 target creatures and or other planeswalkers. Return each card put into the graveyard this way to the battlefield under your control. It's the -6. -6 is very situational, but as a keep spawning something and buff my creatures, this is very, very decent. I like this planeswalker, so it's a good one. Of course, there are other really good planeswalkers in black that you can use for vampires, but including other variations of Sorin. But this is a decent one to include. Of course, if you have limited slots and you're looking to replace with a stronger, this is the card that I would replace it with. Other end, to exile target no land permanent and then pay 4. Cheaper ways to do this, but still, why not? At least we have 1 spot removal. It is exile, is not destroyed yet. Vona, Butcher of Magan, is a 4/4 vampire knight, costs 5, has vigilance and lifelink, and for tap and pay 7 life, destroy target non-land permanent, activate only during your turn. So this is a way to destroy stuff. 7 life can be a lot, but seeing how much lifelink you have, it's not that much in this kind of deck. So definitely a good way. And finally, some destroy. Blade of the Blood Chief. A 1 generic artifact equipment. Whenever a creature dies, you put a +1/+1 counter on equipped creature, and if equipped creature is a vampire, instead you put 2 +1/+1 counters. Yes, please. Give me more of that. Amazing. Ooh, Isolated Chapel. Great. Shine Shadow Snarl, Temple of Silence, Vault of the Archangel. This is actually good. The lifelink and Death Touch can be really good because you go wide, so that's really nice. Voldron Estate. Okay, so you tap to pay 1 life and add 1 mana of any color, and you can cast a vampire with this. And then for 5, you tap, you create a blood token, and this ability costs 1 generic life to activate for each vampire you control. Realistically, you can just create them for free after a while. So this could actually be good. Hideaway, meh. I like that it brought up the hideaway cards, but I'm not a huge fan about it. Anyway, Martyr of Dusk. This is a 2/1 vampire soldier that costs 2, and it's white. When it dies, create a white vampire token with lifelink. There are better, stronger vampires. It's okay if you have none, but yeah, there are better ones that you can replace it with that can do a lot more than just replace itself with a 1/1. Of course, with this and Clavilinho, you can do 2 at once, but there are better. Return to Dust, of course. Exile target artifact or enchantment. If you cast a spell during your main phase, you may exile up to 1 other target artifact or enchantment. Classic. It's not bad. It's a bit expensive for what it does, but it's one of those, you know, classics. So if you have to put something, might as well keep this. Swords to Plowshares, great spell removal. Ooh, Blood Artist. This is what I was hoping. 0/1. Cost 2 is a vampire. Whenever it or another creature dies, target player loses a life. You can gain a life. Very, very, very good. There are a couple of cards, including the the Cutthroat guy that does similar stuff. There are quite a few of these effects, and if you stack them up, it just destroys your opponents really quickly. So all your tokens then transform into bigger tokens. It's just insane. Bloodline Necromancer, 3/2 vampire wizard, cost 5, lifelink. When it enters the battlefield, you may return target vampire wizard creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. This is a reanimate. There are cheaper reanimate effects. Yes, it's on a vampire, but there are better vampires. So, you know, use it at your own discretion. That's Legion Zealot. It costs 2. It's a 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, you draw a card and you lose a life. Again, better vampires. Falkner's Noble has a 2/2 that costs 4 flying. Don't let that fool you. Whenever it or another creature dies, it doesn't have to be a token, the target player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. That's another one of that sort. Indulgent Aristocrat, 1/1 lifelink, costs 1 black, 2, and sack a creature to put a +1/+1 counter on each vampire you control. Absolutely keep this. Oathsworn Vampire enters the battlefield tapped, is a 2/2 that costs 2. You may cast it from the graveyard if you gain life this turn. Not bad. It's a reoccurring effect. You can get it back and re-enable certain things, so it's always good to have this persist kind of cards, so it's always good to have those. Village Rites, it's an instant that costs 1 black. As an additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice a creature, you draw 2 cards. Very, very, very good. I love it. And, you know, it's always great to have this kind of stuff. Viscer's here. Very, very good sack outlet. It's a classic. It's a 1/1, and it costs 1 black. Sacrifice a creature to scry 1. Extremely good. Ooh, Bartolome del Presidio. Sack another creature or artifact to put a +1/+1 counter on him. Very good. Cruel Celebrant. Great. Whenever it or another creature, planeswalker you control, dies, each opponent loses a life, and you gain 1 life, each opponent. And then Etchings of the Chosen. This is a great anthem kind of fact for tribal. So it costs 3. It has Orzhov in its cost. And whenever you put it into play, you choose Vampire. Creature you control, you choose type, get +1/+1, and you tap 1 generic, sack a creature that's a vampire, and target creature you control gains indestructible to the end of turn. So that's very, very, very good. And it goes into, there's another one that gives indestructible. So very good. I like it, and I actually really like this enchantment. I use it myself in certain tribal decks. Next up, we have Legion Lieutenant. It's a 2/2 that buffs all other vampires to +1/+1 and only costs 2. Very good. Arcane Signet and Command Sphere. Very, very good. Heirloom Blade. That's back. Okay. Costs 3 generic. Equipped creature gets +3/+1, and whenever it dies, you may reveal cards from the top of the library until you reveal a card that shares a type with it. Put that card into your hand, rest at the bottom of the library in a random order, and you equip for 1. I'd rather remove this. There are better cards. If you put it into play, it'd be something, but yeah. Milestone, another way to sack and draw a card, but you have some ways to do that already. You don't have a lot of ramp. I would rather get some other stuff to put in. So the talismans, the signet is great. So that's always good. The soul ring, there you go, the talisman. This is the only one that has a talisman so far, which is really, really weird. So the soul ring is great. The swift boots are great. The talisman, absolutely. Wayfarer's Bubble, another one. Yay! It's in an Orzhov. It's okay. You realistically tend to have enough to be able to put either of the colors. This is more of a 3 colors kind of deck. Ojuka Bog, meh. Command Tower, great. Mirror Landscape, meh. Orzhov Basilica, meh. Passive Masters 3. Rogue's Passage, not really. You have a lot of flyers, it's okay. Secluded Courtyard, great, absolutely. Tainted Field, meh. Temple of Foxguard, meh. Unclaimed Territory, meh. And then let's go and see. We have 8 planes and 13 swamps. Now, that was an interesting deck, I will tell you that. It has a lot of good synergy. I think this is the kind of deck that, just like the Dino deck, there are a lot more components in this that you can add to make much stronger, more so than the Merfolk deck. Because the Merfolk, yeah, there are some strong Merfolk out there, but let's be honest, the best tribals out there still lack some components that, for example, dinos and vampires have had for quite a while. So the Merfolk deck sorely needs certain things that could later come when more Merfolk are spawned by Magic the Gathering Wizards of the Coast. But in the meantime, yeah, I think this is one of those that, depending on the budget and resources, you can definitely pump to make it insanely good. And it has very good synergy with the commander in general, and the whole deck synergizes with them. It just sings with them. So you have ways to buff your whole entire board. You have ways to sack, you have ways to get life and to bring back the creatures. You just have so many ways to do so many things to draw. There are so many tools in here, and they're all attached to vampires, so that's the greatest thing. And remember, they become demons after that. And the enchantment side as well, it's insanely good. There are some maybe other enchantments that some people might want, depends on, like there's the Phyrexian one that allows you to bring creatures back from the graveyard, for example. That's very cheap, and that one would be really good because with the sack ability, bringing back is always very good. There's the other enchantment that I was speaking about, that whenever you gain life, your opponents lose life. And there are things that you can improve for sure, but as I said, the sky is kind of the limit with this kind of deck. And because it is an aristocrats deck, and aristocrats deck have been around since forever, so you know, the sky is the limit with this kind of deck. So we just look at it in the way that it comes as a precon. And then next up, yes, I would definitely use a little bit more spot removal myself, especially destroy, and even more so some protection, from board-wide protection to fairies. You know, the Convoke one that came with the Phyrexian will be one, and you know, some of the ones that came with Warhammer decks and the Doctor Who deck, the Everybody Lives. You know, protections like that are really important when you've created a big board state, because if somebody board wipes you, you're screwed. So for example, Farewell, that could be maybe a little bit of a double-edged sword here. So Austere Command is better, but yeah. And also there's this Kindred, the sorcery that brings back all the creatures of a specific type, for example, that you choose. That there are cards that you can buff up, but as I said, this it's not because this deck is lacking, it's because the sky is the limit kind of situation. It's the first deck out of all of them that I've seen so far. I'm only missing one now, which is the Ahoy Meaties, the Pirates one, that has both the Talisman and the Signet, finally. And there are some things that would remove that don't make sense, but overall it's great. And the mana base is the mana base as usual. What can we say about that, right? So with that being said, I think again this is another 7.5. Yes, and you've heard it, this is another 7.5. I don't think that it's any better or any less stronger than any of the other decks. It shines in its own way, it has its own ways of doing things, and it has so many ways of doing them straight out of the box that I just can't in good conscience criticize it for not putting all the anthem effects, for not putting all those artifacts that buff up tribals and so on and so forth, because the other ones didn't do it either. And to be fair, there's only so much value you can add, and there's already a lot of great value here. And as I said, the sky is the limit with aristocrats, so 7.5 is definitely the score here. So I hope you've enjoyed this review, and if you did, leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more reviews like this one, as it does help small channels like ours a lot. And from Scotty and I, we thank you very much. We wish you a lovely day, a blessed day. Be good, be kind, and have a good one. Bye!